Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it is time for my client Demi's vlog, and we are getting ready for right now an unofficial powerlifting meet. He's just doing a unsanctioned deadlift competition, but then we'll start peaking for a real meet later this year. But we started his week off with a closed grip bench press, and keep in mind, benching is his weakest lift. He needs a lot more tricep. I've noticed we need to spend a lot of time on that for him. Deadlift is his strongest lift. He's deadlifting past 5 plates. But yeah, so we got 100 kilogram, which is, 2 plate aside closed grip bench. Got it with a pause. But again, if you guys notice, you'll see his triceps really limit his benching. Notice his bar path and everything there. So that's going to be a very, very high priority for us. Afterwards, I have him do floor pressing. And again, just due to the length of these videos, I'm going to end up not showing his supplemental work on his dynamic days, just the speed work. But fortunately, his supplemental work is more or less the same on max effort versus dynamic effort for him. And again, notice we just do the basics. He's doing most of his training right now at home, at his home gym, not at the gym. And that's okay. As I've said before, we can make the basics work. You just have to program them intelligently. All right, so on this day, we do floor presses, we do barbell rows, we're doing floor skull crushers, and I'm going to change those for some other stuff coming up here. I'm going to have him start doing more band work and maybe JM presses. Again, I'm a big fan of JM presses for people with a tricep weakness. A lot of my clients do them. But they require us to have very, very healthy elbow tendons in order to pull it off. It's not something I start everyone on. It can be problematic there. But we do the floor presses, we do barbell rows, the floor skull crushers, and plate front raises. And what we're getting out of this is we're more or less developing all the upper body. Now some people say, well, is the back getting enough? Well, we have speed pulls, and then we have chin-ups on his squat and deadlift days. Now, as you guys can see, he's a pretty tall guy, so the barbell rows are not the most comfortable thing in the world, for him to do off the floor, but that's okay. It puts him into that low position like that, forces him to learn to get tight there, which I think really is going to help with the deadlift. Deadlift is, of course, what he is best at, and that's what we expect. Now, a lot of it has to do, though, with him needing to fill his frame out. He is obviously a very tall guy. He is nowhere near his max potential size for his frame. He is light years away from it. So what we really have to do with him is just keep filling him out, keep filling him out. Like right now, he's going to be competing at 100 kilogram, which means, at this point, at his height, he may be the thinnest guy on the platform in that weight class. At my height, I compete in that class and look pretty thick. But again, the height difference. He's, again, a very, very tall guy. He's from a country full of very tall people. Now, of course, that being said, that may mean at the regional level, it may not be that difficult to be in that class. It may not be that bad. And I'm hoping that's going to be the case with him. And, he'll just keep moving forward. Again, he's fairly new to powerlifting itself. So, again, we're going to just bring him forward. We're going to keep moving him forward. And hopefully this is going to be a multi-year process, right? Hopefully he's going to be one of these clients that's in for the long haul, and then we'll just see that progression over time. We'll see that progression over time. And, again, he'll just get better and better and better. But in his case, he's going to need to move up a weight class every couple years. I've told him, obviously, for now, there's no reason for us to gain that much body fat, right? There's no reason for us to do that. So it's going to be a multi-year process. And the thing that people need to keep in mind with these taller lifters, oftentimes people say, but a person can really only gain so much muscle. Those figures are for the average height or slightly below average height. And keeping in mind, those figures that we talk about, well, a person can gain X amount of muscle, that's factoring in more or less the entire world. Keeping in mind our average height, say in America, is above average for the rest of the world. So when you start looking at the human race or men, because those are the numbers we give for men collectively, is that 25 pounds of muscle gain, drug-free, is pretty reasonable. But what's the average height around the world? About 5'7". Right? When you have guys like this who are, 6'3", 6'5", things like that, that's a completely different situation. Completely different situation. It's not uncommon for guys in that height range to gain 50 pounds or more of muscle mass over the course of their training career, if not more. But it makes sense because of the total frame and the space that they have to fill out. All right, so for max effort lower there, we did safety bar squat. I think he got 155 kilogram. So again, we're trying to get him up to that 4-plate. We want that 4-plate squat or more on the platform, early on this year, and then we want to go up from there. So 155 kg on a safety bar for a taller, lankier guy isn't bad because the safety bar really, really brings out their weaknesses. Right? The guys you see who usually can hang with the safety bar versus their power bar, again, guys with shorter legs and things like that, they're able to maintain a far more upright position. Right? Longer legged lifters have to do far more forward lean. Okay, that makes things like the safety bar dramatically more difficult. I said dramatically more difficult. Their squats are going to look like a good morning, which is good that in his case, notice we're pretty strong at good mornings. Right? He's decently strong at these relative to his squat, and he has to be. But it makes sense given his deadlift. He has to be. Because his squats are going to mimic a good morning a lot more. They're going to mimic it a lot more. And that's kind of another topic too. You'll see people, how do we avoid a good morning squat? Well, you don't need to. Why are you trying to avoid that? Now, is it a negative good morning squat, as in the bar is drifting way too far forward? Okay, that's one thing. But a lot of people assume that because there's some overlap in the good morning, there's a hip hinge pattern and there's forward lean, that's a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. That's how we squat the heaviest weights possible. Particularly for certain lifters, depending upon how you're built. Okay? It's not a bad thing. Let's not portray it as one. Again, it has to do with people's structures. All right? An ideal squat is going to look very, very different for different people depending upon how they're built. Again, very, very biomechanics-based movement. This guy is very tall by most people's standards. So again, the mechanics, they're going to look different than what most people are going to be used to because they have to. All right, of course, then we do lunges with the safety bar. Again, we've got to bring his legs up. We don't have access to a lot of leg machines here. And again, guy with a lot of forward lean like that, I don't want to have him do a bunch of back squats. We don't want to build his legs with back squats. It's not going to work. It's going to beat him up. All right, and then of course after that we finish the week up with speed work. So we do speed benching, we do speed boxes and speed pulls. Now I want to make a note here. I'm very unhappy with his form on the box squats. He knows that. He's running into a lot of problems of head and torso position of not keeping them constant. Notice his head moves around the entire rep. Try to teach him to find a position to where it's comfortable and correct and maintain that position the entire time. So we're still working on that. Then we have speed pulls after. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.